Testing one, two, testing one, two. Launch radio. We're here. I think it's working. As far as I know, this is working. Um, what's happening, everybody? It's been a little bit, but I wanted to come back on here and talk to people because it's been, gosh, it's been about a year and a half since I've done a podcast, and I love talking to you guys. Um, but I want to talk about a lot today. In the past couple months, past couple years actually, um, everybody's just been on social media like, I mean, it's been like nothing else. I mean, I've been tweeting up a storm, Facebooking, tweeting, Instagram. I'm not as much of an Instagram person as a lot of people. Twitter tends to be my preferred platform. Um, and Facebook for a while, but Facebook's just different in so many different ways. Um, but yeah, it's especially since COVID started, social media just kicked into high gear, I feel like, and everybody was on it even more than they were pre-pandemic, and that's fine, but you know, I feel like we all need a break from it. I feel like we need to like have a I've said this before, but we need to have like a holiday, social media holiday where it's all the platforms go dark for a day and we just everybody has to go outside. Imagine that. Go outside. It's been like 2 years since I've done a Mandela effect video. Those people are, you know, wanting more Mandela effects, which there are probably a lot. So I need to do another one. It has been a little while. So if anybody on my YouTube is watching this, I miss you guys and I'm coming back now. Like this is the beginning of it. But I want to talk about today. We're just gonna do a short one today because just I gotta go get my dog at daycare and a lot of stuff going on. I have a dog now, Nellie. She is 9 months, almost 10 months old, and she's Chihuahua, Pit Bull, Poodle mix. She's great. Anyway, a lot to discuss though. I just want to talk about ADD today, but lots to discuss in future episodes. Um, I really think that ADHD, and I've had it my entire life. It's not a thing. It's not like a thing where one day wake up and have ADHD. It's not a thing where like, you just like can't focus or something. There's like all these like myths about it, and people don't really understand what it is. So I try to help out with that. I've been on people's podcasts before discussing it, and I've written blogs about it. But the thing you have to know about it is, and I see some people in the chat. If you come into the chat, feel free to say hi. Um, the thing you need to know about it, and it is the one, I know there's all these conditions that, people can have, like depression and autism and Asperger's and bipolar and borderline personality. I mean, there's a million. Like, this is my one. like, like I have my one. They say I might have mild depression, but that's kind of debatable. I never really thought. I mean, they said I did, but I don't feel depressed now or have it. So, but ADHD I have to the nth degree. And let me tell you that despite what some people, I saw Matt Walsh kind of talking it down on Twitter, which is very naive and not understanding what it's about. But let me tell you that it's not a condition of not being able to focus. Like that can be an element of it, a very small piece of it, but it's a lot more complex than that. It has to do with, and if anybody logs in here and sees it, here's what I'm saying, or has ADD or knows anything about it, feel free to chime in the chat because I can see you or say hi. What it has to do with is attention in regard. Well, I shouldn't say attention. What it has to do with in regard it specifically relates to your. I would call it filters. It's related to your filters, and that yes, attention can be part of that, but we can not pay attention at all to something, or we can hyper focus on something and be more attentive than everybody else, like way attentive. So I go around paying too much attention to things that I shouldn't pay attention to. I know "shouldn't" is a strong word, but that are not the priority. Just because my attention filters are so random that I cannot focus on something that I need to focus on, and I can hyper focus on something like 1,000 times better than everybody else that I don't need to focus on. So I can not focus on things that I should be focusing on, and I can hyper focus on things that I shouldn't be focusing on. So while what they call neurotypical brains will go about their day and they'll have their priorities and they'll have their, important stuff that they need to get done, that's very hard for people with ADHD because our what they call the nervous system. We all have a nervous system. The more neurotypical, as it's called. I hate all these words. Neurotypical. Their nervous system, if you don't have ADHD, operates on planning your delayed future, what's important, consequences, priorities, and organization. So you know what's important, and you work towards what's important. Well, most of you. You generally have an understanding of what's important so you can plan for the future. People with ADHD, that nervous system it's not even a thing. So importance, I've had to learn, I still am trying to learn what about this concept of importance and knowing what's important about a delayed future you know nothing about. Because everything with us, with ADHD nervous system, here's how it operates. So I gave you the ones for neurotypical. They're going on priorities, importance, organizing, delay future, consequences. That doesn't apply with us. With ADHD, it is urgency, if something's urgent, novelty, if something's new, and I'll get into these more in a second. Let's see, urgency, novelty, if something is, I'm blanking on the other two. Hang on, I'll tell you. I have it in my notes. Why? See, this is ADHD right here. Urgency, novelty, challenge. So if something's challenging, and interest. And so interest, challenge, novelty, and urgency. And so in order for our brain to activate, one of those things has to be present. So urgency, novelty, challenge, or interest has to be present. So if I have not been podcasting in a year and I need to change my focus onto something that's probably pretty important because I enjoy podcasting and it does make money here and there, and I enjoy talking to you guys, and it's a passion of mine. If I'm going to change my focus, I have to, instead of just knowing it's important and doing it, I have to do things in my environment to make things seem novel so that I can do it. So just to reboot this podcast, I had to rearrange furniture in my apartment and take a table outside and stuff just so that my brain can see novelty to be able to then change things up and focus on something. So things like keeping a calendar or taxes or doing anything that's not fun to do but that's important are very, very, very challenging for us with ADHD because that stuff has to be it has to be in one of those four categories in order for us to be able to then tune in and focus on it. Now, the problem is that because importance isn't really a thing, we're just going on our day to day, we're just going at things that apply to one of those four, to interest, challenge, novelty, or urgency. So we make great, there's a lot of, what are some occupations that have ADHD? It's really common for like reporters, ambulance drivers, cops. There's a lot of artists, actors, people in the movie business. Anything where there's change and adrenaline and novelty and urgency and interest is a little different, but challenge, novelty, and urgency, that gets the brain to activate. And the thing about our brains is when it activates, it goes like 100,000 miles per hour towards it. Some refer to it as like a Ferrari with bicycle brakes. So we're like all or nothing. We're all there or we're not there at all. So managing that is very, very difficult. And I've tried different medications for it. I've tried a lot of different medications over the years. And I've come to learn that when I take a stimulant, specifically amphetamines, the one that works for me, suddenly I see more of what you all are seeing with the important stuff. And I'm able to like make transitions easier and move my focus around easier and do that. But without that, it's very, very, very difficult to, and that's why you get a lot of ADHD people who, we greatly struggle with financial stuff, with finances, because that would involve the delayed future, and the delayed future isn't a thing. Um, so it's very hard for us to do anything. That's something important. It's very hard for us to do anything that's involving the delayed future. And Dr. Russell Barkley, who's renowned, you know, expert on ADHD, talks about this in a video which I shared on Twitter, and a lot of people retweeted it. He talks about how ADHD people live in the present. We really do. I mean, that is in addition to the four things I just said about how our nervous system operates, because it's a different nervous system. I know it is because I have to live in it and try to understand the one neurotypicals have. But in addition to that, it's also it's literally living every moment in the present. And I know that like Buddha and like Zen and like they talk about living in the present. In acting class we learned about living in the moment and always being in the moment. We're really in the moment, so in the moment that it's like to our own detriment because we can't get out of the moment. Like everything that comes in is like we're just going about like what's happening then and then what's happened, like everything's what is right in front of us at the moment. But here's what's interesting, which is what I would speculate about, is I noticed that while being in the moment, I also see the moment in like a million different directions. So like I've been doing news a lot the past couple of years and I enjoy it and I seem to be decent at it, so I'll keep doing it. I mean, it fits in with the ADHD thing, breaking news, whatever's in the moment. That's what we're going for. So I'm like a shark in the moment. Like find the most present thing you can find. um but one thing I notice is, with this kind of always feeling present, we see whatever happens in the moment in like 1,000 different directions. So when like a news story breaks, I'm able to see um I'm able to see like when I post a news story or when I hear about it breaking, I'm able to see like every perspective on it in like a matter of seconds goes into my head. So like I can automatically see all the sides of what people would say and are saying, and it just all comes in very very fast, which is very interesting because it makes me wonder about this present moment in ADHD and if I'm just seeing like I'm so in the moment that like I'm literally seeing everything in the moment. Like it's so much coming in when there's like a new story. Like just by coming in, I just mean like the universe like downloads all this stuff to my brain, and I'm like whoa 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 whoa. It's like, and so it helps me because I'm able to see just other people's perspectives that for some reason people can't see. Like other people don't understand other people's sides of things, and like I don't like always like I'm not like perfect always ever understanding it, but for some reason like I'm able to usually see other sides of things way easier than the vast majority. And um I don't know why that is. I just you know just live in LA and do my thing. But I just noticed that like I don't know 3 to 5 years ago when I started doing news, but it just brings interest to this living the present thing because it's like it's hard for me to do anything regarding the delayed future, like planning, finances, terrible. Planning, forget it. Calendar. I've posted this on Twitter. I would always keep a calendar, and I would write the calendar entry after it already happened. It was more of a journal diary than it was a calendar for me. Um, and so they are talking about, and this is what Dr. Barkley, who I talked about earlier, talks about. They're beginning to think it has a lot to do with time perception ADHD. And it brings a question. I do wonder if ADHD people who really have it. I think there's a lot of misdiagnosis, honestly. You know, if it does relate to the present, I wonder if it's connected in some way to seeing the present in like 1,000 different directions. You know, um, Dr. Dotson in Colorado, I think his name's David Dotson. He was talking on Attitude Magazine's YouTube, I don't know, 6 months ago, and he talked about a quote from 1903 from a book. Somebody making an observation about he jumped on his horse and rode off in 100 different directions. Because we solve problems when there's a problem that everybody's stumped on. We come in and instead of taking past and future, I think, as much into consideration, we just ask questions and make whatever it is really present, and then we kind of solve it backwards because we're solving it so in the present. So like we'll just start asking questions and then we'll get to the answer and then we'll know what the answer is and then we'll have to backtrack to explain to people how we know the answer to something. I know that sounds complex, but there seems to be something connected to time and ADHD. Well, I know there is. I mean, Dr. Barkley talks about how there is, but there's something kind of interesting, mysterious about that. That they're still studying. Um, as far as what medications, uh, amphetamines work best for me. I'm also taking one called, I don't know, I'm taking some, what am I taking now? Vyvanse in the past week, which is Adderall. Just, it's kind of metabolized slowly because it's connected. It's Liz dexamphetamine, so it has a delay on it. And I'm taking guanfacine, which is a blood pressure drug, but they found out guanfacine works for Adderall. I think it specifically works for emotional dysregulation with Adderall, but or not with Adderall, with ADD. So guanfacine works with ADD. They've discovered it was originally for blood pressure. So I take guanfacine for ADD and Vyvanse, and um, that those drugs for some reason, the stimulants specifically, Adderall, Ritalin, Dexedrine, help a lot with it. And I just wonder, you know, Um, I just wonder if there's something about the present moment connected to time, connected to the nervous system, how the system operates, because all those things, interest, challenge, novelty, and urgency, tend to be things that are related to right now. We're like our time frame is now or not now. So it's either now or it's like not now for who knows how long, not now. You know, like we're either in it or we're not. Like, that's it. So there's none of this, we don't really do things half. We don't really do things half. Like, I stopped Facebook, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, for a variety of reasons. Their platform is how they police information is way bad off because the AI, you can be reporting something Facebook supports, and just because you share what you're debunking, the AI doesn't realize you're debunking it, so they think you're posting the false info when really you're supporting what Facebook is saying. Like you're backing them, but the AI doesn't recognize it. So they were sending me like these warning notifications, and I just got tired of it and didn't want to be on it. And I needed to take a break anyway. So I had been like solidly Facebooking for like 3 years. So, but I still tweet. I slowed down the tweeting a little bit so that I could have time to get this going. Um, but because I was doing this, I was wanting to like stop tweeting too. So we tend to be like all in or nothing. So I've been doing social media a lot less the past few weeks. I'm still tweeting here and there, but I'm gonna get back to it more. I just had to take time to set this up, which believe me, OBS. This is a whole other thing. Is I wish anyone luck doing OBS and coordinating all the parts for this because it is a lot of work. Um, but anyway, aside from that, so I just wanted to say, this ADHD is very it is complex, but if you have it, you you get it once you kind of read up on it and realize how you operate. It took me a long, long time to really fully understand what was happening with it. But now that I understand it, it's just a matter of I also have an ADHD coach now because ADHD coaching is important because I need people to be keeping me accountable for stuff that's important because important is not a thing. Like I don't even important. It's just it doesn't register. We're only registering interest, challenge, novelty, and urgency. Medication helps with important some, but it gets me having a coach gets me to think about delayed future and about that stuff that to operate in our society you have to have what's up Johan. Dad, you're back. I think you meant glad you're back. Sorry, some people in the chat. um I am back. Oh, I have to type it on this. I am back. It's been 2 years. A couple years, but I'm coming back. Yes. So what I wanted to say, I don't even remember my train of thought, but yes, there's a lot to understand, and there's a lot to understand about ADHD, and we're still understanding it. I don't even like the title of it. I think ADHD just sounds very kind of non. It's just a label when really all what it comes down to is it's a different nervous system. And I also listen to Tom Hartman, who's a psychologist. I think he's a psychologist, and he has a show, but he's talked about ADHD a lot. We follow each other on Twitter, but he talks about hunter farmer theory, and he believes that people with ADHD were the hunters back in the day, which is why the present. Because if you're running through the woods chasing a rabbit, you have to be able to shift gears in the present and be right on it. While the farmers could just sit on the porch and watch the corn grow and do the crops, and to that stuff's boring. So it'd be out running, 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 going, finding, present, this, that, this. So like genetically and what would the word be? Evolution or whatever, evolutionary. We evolved into having that same hunter mentality in the current 2022 work world. So there's definitely something happening with that, and I don't even like to um, label it like as a mental. It's not a mental illness. I don't like labeling it as a disorder or mental illness. It's just a way of operating. But in the way society's running, where you need to keep a calendar and you need to plan for the future and you need to do your taxes and you need to make plans for important stuff, you need to have coaching and medication for that because we can't just do it with the way our system operates. Just doing it isn't a thing. We have to have interest, challenge, novelty, or urgency. And when we do have those, this is the big trick. It goes hyper focused and it goes like 10,000. So I'll whip out like YouTube videos and podcasts like crazy. But if that goes away, I don't get to come see my buddy Johan anymore on here. And I don't get to come do it because it's like all or nothing. Yeah, thanks, man. He says it's been a while. He was worried. Yeah, I was dealing with ADHD, getting through pandemic stuff, but I'm here. I want to make some more Mandela videos and other stuff. Um, and yeah, I was just getting through some things, and I had to reset this up. But switching my brain, I was doing news actively on Twitter for a couple years, and I needed to like slow that down a little bit so that I could get my podcast. I want to get back to doing that, but I can only do so much. Like I wanted to get my podcast and video and sound stuff going again, and it took a few weeks here for me to a lot of coaching and some medication changes and some uh then setting this up, which by the way, this setup would take people. I mean, this I have like a full professional setup that they would in a studio here. And again, when I get focused on something, I could do it no problem. But when I'm not focused on it, I can't do it at all. So it's again all or nothing. So if anybody needs podcast advice, when I set mine up, I just go 10,000 miles per hour on it and it gets done. But when I'm not, I'm not. Anyway, so let's see, Johan. I'm gonna wrap up here in the next 5 minutes because I wanted to keep this. I wanted to keep this at 20 minutes, but we're at 30. Glad to see that you're doing well. We just had stuck with a massive cat for a hurricane this week. We had just got struck with a massive cat for a hurricane this week. Don't worry, we're doing okay. Good, good. You're doing good. Good, you're doing okay, Johan. That's great to hear. I know the hurricane has been affecting people in Florida. I hope everyone's been able to stay safe. Yeah, that was not a lot of fun. I've watched less like news clips. I don't really watch. I only watch on TV here, maybe once a week. But I've watched less clips because I've been doing this, so there hasn't been so much news focus. But I did hear about the hurricane, and I'm glad people are surviving. Um, Message to Gokhan here, or to Johan here. Glad you're okay. I'm gonna be making some Mandela effect videos again. I want to just refresh on that, even though I pretty much gave. For anybody who doesn't know, for like 3 years I was doing Mandela effect videos, and I got a following for it. And I pretty much gave every Mandela effect that's out there. There may be some new ones, but I went through them all multiple times, some of them twice, in like I don't know. I probably have 50. I have like 170 YouTube videos, maybe 50 of them are Mandela Effect. So you can see lots of those on my channel, Jeffrey Pilkington. It's the YouTube below. Or just search for Jeffrey Pilkington on YouTube. You'll find it. But I go by Jeff. It was just taken on YouTube. I'd like to get all my accounts synced in the same way. So I wanted to come back, just say hello to everybody. And yeah, that's what had happened. Hey, Lee, what's going on? Lee Miller here. Glad to see you guys are around. I am back and more will come. I was just dealing with some ADHD. You can watch this from the beginning. I kind of explain and dealing with some other things, but I'm coming back now and I wanted to give you guys just a download of what it's like with this condition because it's been lifelong for me and I don't really believe it's a disorder. I believe it's a condition. It can be a disorder if you let it be. I mean, it's definitely affects you in negative ways, and you have to manage it. But I don't like to call it this umbrella disorder, like because I believe that it has its positives too, and you have to learn to manage the negatives. It's just a different way of being. It's just a different way of operating. It's a different nervous system, is what they say. That's exactly right. And it's very, very, very present moment oriented. Very present moment oriented. Whatever's happening right now. Yeah, so that's where I was. I was doing a lot of news on Twitter, Lee, for a couple of years, and to answer to respond to Lee here, and kind of just dealing with ADHD. I got a coach and such. So anyway, we went through all that. It's great to see you guys here. I'm gonna wrap up. That was 30 minutes. This will be up on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and then I'll post some on Instagram too. But this was kind of a test run today, so more to come soon. Thank you guys for tuning in here at Launch Radio. We are the future, and the future is Launch Radio. I'm out. See you guys soon. Later.